in today's video, I'm going to take a short little ride out to the beach. It is late in the afternoon after work. And I believe, or at least what I'm hoping, is that, we've got some serious waves out there that I can have a look at. And maybe film some of those for you. There's Hurricane Ernesto is right off our coast. It's a little bit south right now, so I don't know if there's going to be any waves kicking up. But for anybody that lives in Florida, you know that when there's a hurricane out there, what happens is you get counterclockwise rotation when it's south, and so the wind comes onshore, and it really drives the water in to the beach, and it makes really big waves. And then after the hurricane passes and it goes up farther north, then the hurricanes turn offshore and it glasses everything over. And so right now the winds are going to be onshore. It's going to be a swell that is going to be more of a distant swell, not necessarily a wind swell. And so probably won't be good for surfing, but there might be some size to them. And anyway, that's what I wanted to show you today. And so I'm going to take a quick ride out here and check it out. All right, so a little bit before the beach here, we're probably about less than 10 minutes away. We're on a causeway coming out. I just thought that the sun was really, really nice right now, the way the sun's hitting everything, the trees and the river. This is beautiful Florida right here. Um, if you could take the heat, man, Florida's the place to be, I think. I don't know. So I'm going to go up here and find a beach access and just head on in and see what they look like. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. Oh, yeah. You can see it's blowing a little offshore, actually. And see how the tops of the waves are kind of cresting over a little bit, and the wind's blowing the top back. It's an offshore swell. It's pretty good waves, actually. You can see the relative size of that surfer out there. Him out there. He's very small compared to some of these waves. So, hey, how's it going? Anyway, a little look. Florida beaches. In memory of the astronauts involved in the accident aboard the Challenger shuttle, January 28, 1986. And there's a flag. Nice. Wow. I was working out there when that happened, so I know all about it. All right. And the sun is going to be right in my eyes going back home. Yes, indeed. It feels good to be moving, though. I got this cool ocean breeze just kind of coming over me. You see a guy with a bike carrying his surfboard right now. Him right there. Looks like he's going into a place called Seagull Park. Catch some of those good, tasty waves after a hard day's work. That's the Cocoa Beach life, man. One thing, if you're ever in Cocoa Beach, do not speed. They patrol this road like crazy, like really crazy, and they will write you a ticket without even thinking about it. So I'm just going to head back on 404 here. This is what they call the Pineda Causeway, and this will take me back home. And I'll show you a little bit of the way the sun comes from the other direction. It's not as cool as when it's behind you, because it's gets right in your eyes for one thing, and well, it's just not as pretty, but it's still all right. And if you go down that way just a little bit, there's Patrick. Patrick, there's some bigger waves there. The way the ocean bottom is formed is brings them in a little bit bigger. It's a really popular surf spot, is what they call Second Light, because there's two lights of Patrick, and it's the second one south. There's picnic tables up there. It's another good surf spot. Wasn't really my favorite. I used to go to Patrick a lot, a lot. And oh, look at that guy with his dog. Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. That dog's loving it. Look at him. More common occurrences, but normally, when you go to Cocoa Beach, like in the summer, the waves are flat. They're, literally ankle slappers, and you can't surf them or anything. The beach is still nice, but for surfing, it's no good. And it's that way week after week after week in the summer. And you could see what you just saw. That is not typical for the summer months in Florida. That is definitely coming in from the hurricane, without a doubt. Even though the hurricane's a long way away, that hurricane has so much power, it makes the ocean so rough that it brings the waves all the way to Florida from where it's at. I believe it's west south right now, and pretty good distance off of our coast. So, I don't know how many miles that is, but it's hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and and it's still bringing in waves. That's how much power that hurricane has. It's amazing. I've been through a lot of hurricanes here in Florida. I've never evacuated, although I don't recommend it. It's, it's just not. I'm kind of stupid, I guess, and I know a lot of you will probably think I'm really stupid, but I've never evacuated. I'm thinking I'm gonna do that though if a hurricane comes this year, just because the oceans are really really warm, and I'm afraid that that hurricane is going to intensify and turn into something really big. I know when I hit when I went through hurricane, I think it was Francis, was off of our coast just by a little bit, and it came and it skirted our coast, but we were definitely in the fringe of it, and we were in hurricane conditions, and I think I had about maybe 100 mile an hour winds outside, and I was praying. I was praying that my house would hold up. I was praying that, I have a screen enclosure. I was praying that that wouldn't get, ripped up. I went out and cut my screen so that it would blow through and all kinds of stuff. And we managed to get through it with I put extra tie down straps on my screen enclosure. And so usually I have one cable in the back that crosses and then one cable on each side. I put two cables in the back. I put another cable on each side basically. And I don't know if that saved it, but it sure helped. It seemed that screen enclosure was moving by the wind, probably, I'd say a good, maybe close to 2 feet. It was moving. Every time a gust of wind would come around, it would move that screen enclosure by probably 2 feet, and it held together. I don't know how it did it, but it did. And anyway, the point is that that was 100-mile-an-hour wind. Now, hurricanes start whenever you have sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. That's called a hurricane. And so 100, I think this might have been anywhere from 90 to 100. I believe it was called a Category 3 storm when it hit. It may have been a Category 2, but I think it was a Category 3. I'll have to check that out. I'll put a little text here to let you know what that was. But anyway, that's 100 mile an hour. And you can have hurricanes that have sustained winds of 140, or even in the case of like Andrew, that hit Miami, you can have sustained winds of 150 miles an hour. And I was praying for my life at 100 miles an hour. I mean, I was literally sitting inside. My heart was racing. And I had my wife there with me, and we were scared to death in that hurricane. It was like a monster was outside of our house, just attacking us constantly. And I'm not exaggerating; it was that bad. And so that being 100, if it was any heavier than that, any heavier, I believe that my house would have the top part of my house would have probably separated from my house, and I could have been injured, killed, whatever, in the house, because we in Florida you don't have basements you can go to. You have to get into like a shower or something like that. It's probably the safest place with a mattress over you and all this, but still, I mean, that's pretty severe. And the bad thing about leaving Florida is A, you can't get gas, and B, the traffic on the road is incredibly thick when there's an evacuation order. So I-95, I-75, those superhighways are stop and go, touch the brakes, stop, and then go 20 feet, and then stop, and then go 20 feet, and then try to find gas at any gas station, and you're gonna find, if a gas station does have gas, there will be a line there that's probably an hour and a half long, hour and a half wait. So that's the bad part. And it's hard for people to evacuate 3 days before a hurricane gets here, or 3 days before an evacuation order is issued, because they're working and their company hasn't issued a "hey, we're not going to work tomorrow" policy yet, because the hurricane's still too far away. So people can't get out early, so they all have to leave right when the evacuation order is given. And so that's the negative of living in Florida, is that you have to deal with hurricanes. You also have to deal with hurricanes in Texas and Louisiana and Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina. All of the southeastern states, you kind of have to deal with it. Even in some other, like, I think some cyclones can come through over in the southern parts of California on an extremely rare occasion. But anyway, Florida's known, what they call it, the plywood state. Everybody puts plywood over their windows because basically, if you don't, the likelihood of a branch blowing through the air and hitting the window and blowing it out is, pretty high because branches are blowing everywhere. And if you have a board there, it'll stop it. I don't think it's necessarily to keep the wind pressure from breaking your window. I think it's for flying debris, to protect your window from flying debris. And so everybody puts up plywood when a hurricane comes. And, it's a pain, but either plywood or they get storm shutters, which is a smart thing to do. But storm shutters are expensive, and when you're in the off season and there's no hurricanes out there, it's hard to prioritize getting storm shutters. And so a lot of people like me, I haven't done it. I've been meaning to do it for years, and I just never have. So I'm stuck with plywood, and I use the old holes that I used from last year, and I just use Capcons and screw the plywood in. Storm shutters are easy. You just roll them down, and boom, you've got a even better protective layer than piece of plywood. But plywood works fine. That's another thing too, is try to find plywood when the hurricane's out. Try to find plywood, a generator, bottled water, toilet paper. You can't find any of that stuff when a hurricane's out there. The stores are all bought out. People go crazy. They go nuts. They buy enough stuff to, you know, keep them going for, 3 months rather than, 3 weeks, which is more likely the case. But if a Hurricane Andrew ever came through, they might be having the last laugh. I don't know. A Hurricane Andrew it was like a nuclear bomb went off in that part of Miami. Homestead is where it hit, and yeah, people just absolutely lost their house. I mean, absolutely lost their house. Their house was leveled, and so you know, if that's the case, then I don't know what good, having 3 months of supplies is going to do you anyway. You're going to have to go somewhere to a shelter until you can get your housing situation straightened out. So I don't know, but people go nuts when a hurricane is coming, and so it's just not a pretty sight. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like people that survival is the instinct that's going to be prioritized when danger is present, and they just absolutely go crazy trying to protect themselves and their families. And that's just the nature of humans. I hate to see a zombie apocalypse, man. Honestly, that'd be scary as hell. Oh my God, everybody be they'd have everything in the house, enough for 100 years of survival. So, anyway, there you have it. There's a nice little afternoon ride on summer Florida day with hurricane waves out there. Now those waves will get much, 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 much bigger than that, but those were good surfing waves because they were well formed. They had the offshore wind, and they were good. They were decent height, probably 4 to 5 foot. Is what they would report it as. So anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, see ya.